What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Morning Cuppa Hockey presented by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We are also presented by Parasso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Parasso has been a staple in Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations, so get 15% off at Parasso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps, Hockey15. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Jonny Lazarus, and we have a great guest, a first-time guest coming on the show today. I already see the chat is buzzing too, so I love seeing that. But Aron Augustitus, the head video coach for the Columbus Blue Jackets. He's been with the organization for about, I think, 5+ years. We'll get clarification on that, though, when Aron joins. A guy I met at MSG a few weeks ago. We have a mutual good friend in common, one of my best friends in common. Great guy, so excited to hear some of his stories, his background, and how he sees the game, because the video guys have a very interesting job, interesting perspective. But, Colby, I think we got to start with this Nathan MacKinnon 5 in a game.
I thought we were going to start with the Rangers rebuild is canceled because Lafreniere's back on the road to 100. We're not going to do that.
No, because Little Willie said he's going to dislike our show if we talk about the Rangers, so I don't want him to give us a dislike. There's no point in talking about it. Like it's so whatever.
I know. No, yeah. I literally am looking at a tweet right now from he just tweeted at me, Davey Upper. And
yeah, I saw that.
He said, Laz, this is your time to give it to Colby over Lau.
No, it's not. It is not my time. My time would have been if this was happening in November. Happening in March when the season ends.
20 goals. Look, he might get 20.
Yeah.
I mean, he
should. He's at 18 now.
Yeah. Looks like he's going to score 20 goals this year. I mean, 20 goals in the NHL, nothing to turn your nose at, right? I mean, well, it's not 100, but it's 20. It's a fifth of 100.
Let's see him do it for a full season, and we'll talk about it. But Colby, with this MacKinnon 5 in a game on Connor Ingram last night, I think every hockey fan is on the same side. I mean, unless you're an Oilers fan, you're sitting here saying, like, in no way, shape, or form does that warrant a 5 in a game. And we have all the angles of it, but, like, this doesn't even spark a debate for us. MacKinnon is clearly turned toward the top of the crease. Nurse bumps him right at the end, and it's an ugly collision with him and Ingram. Ingram gets hurt, and that's why I think it results in what we saw in the 5 in the game. But do you have a strong opinion on this play? Because to me, it's just like so obvious that it shouldn't have been the call. Well, and anyone who watches hockey religiously knows that.
What everybody is doing here is we're all making a lot of assumptions. That's what everybody's doing. We're all looking at this and we're making assumptions that Nathan MacKinnon was turning his feet and he was going to get away from it. Look, I'm not. And Tuukka Rask said was pretty interesting last night. Former goalies usually all side with each other. So I don't think that I do think that that's something you should really take into account here. Even Tuukka said, if it was Miles Wood, give him a 10-game suspension.
Yeah, I love that. He said that. Yeah.
But look, it's a tough play there because both guys are moving at an incredibly high pace. We're seeing all these angles in slow motion, and that's something we should definitely talk to Aron about. Differentiate slow motion versus real life, because we know slow motion is not real life, and it's easy to go clip by clip and turn someone or something into, an assassin or a murder that wasn't based on slow motion, So, I mean, we're making assumptions here that Nathan MacKinnon was not or was going to avoid all contact when, he's moving pretty hard towards the net. I mean, I personally think a lot of times players kind of say, you know what, whatever happens here, because they have a little bit of cover knowing you're about to take contact. And we all know Nathan MacKinnon is a stone cold killer. I mean, we do know that about him. Mm-hmm. He will do whatever it takes and to win. But yeah, like, to me, this looks like a play where Nurse gets him on the hip, kind of in the perfect spot, Johnny. You can't really, like, if you take a hit up here, you can still kind of like your upper body and your lower body can be a little bit disconnected on a play like that, where you might be able to kind of still kind of move your legs,
weave your way,
weave, where, Nurse gets him like right on the hip pocket, when you see the contact there. And it's difficult as a, when you're on skates, when you take a hit there from a big man. I mean, Darnell Nurse is what, 6'4", 6'5". He's got to be at least 200 pounds. It'd be difficult to get out of the way there with that type of force coming in you with that type of speed. So it's not the right call, I don't think. And I didn't hear the explanation. I didn't see it live. I had already bailed out on the evening's action at that point. So I didn't see it live. I didn't hear the ref's explanation. I don't know if he gave one or not. Probably not. I mean, they don't give an explanation, I guess.
I didn't see one from the officials.
The league hasn't given one either. Jared Bednar clearly not happy with it, but it is presumptuous, though. We're all sitting here saying we know for sure Nathan MacKinnon didn't mean to do that. Well, we don't know that for sure. Like, let's just be honest about that. We don't know that for sure. I'm not giving him a 5-minute penalty on that play. I'm not suspending him for that play, at all.
No.
But I'm also not going to sit here and pretend like I know what's in Nathan MacKinnon's brain. Like, I'm not going to do that either. And
well,
I'm not
Jared Bednar
advocate to do so. I'm telling you the reality of the situation.
Jared Bednar said the goalie is hurt, so it's 5. I don't really give a crap if the goalie's hurt. That's on their D-man, not our guy. And again, like, it's just an unfortunate play. Like, Nathan MacKinnon's attacking the back post for a tap-in, and Darnell Nurse is trying to break that up. They collide. Like, it's whatever. I don't think it needs to be a bigger.
Can we read this comment from Oiler fan too? And it's reality though.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, it wasn't. It was Michael Kirkpatrick says MacKinnon was on a dangerous path to the goalie. Like, look, as a forward, when you lower your shoulder and you drive the net, there's always a chance of something like this happening. Now, how many times do I come on here and say, why are goalies such a protected class of species? They've got equipment on too. I guess because they're flat-footed and players are moving like 15 to 20 miles an hour. That's probably part of the reason. But, like there has to be a little bit of, again, we're just like absolving MacKinnon and being like no harm, no foul here. But like, I don't know if he can be completely absolved here. That's all I'm saying. I'm not giving him a 5. I have no issues necessarily in real time with them calling a penalty. Very difficult to make that call in real time. I'll say that. But I just don't think like MacKinnon gets this like complete free pass. That's all I'm saying here.
Fair enough. And let's bring on Aron Augustitus. I want to get his opinion just on like going. I saw Jeremiah's comment about like how it's kind of a ridiculous comment. No offense, Jeremiah. I'm not trying to call you out. Jeremiah said like,
Jeremiah has
video coaches.
He's fine.
Yeah, he was
with
like,
that.
this is why I hate video coaches like having a job. We don't need reviews like this or something. Like, it's not the only job of a video coach.
You're
like,
fired.
Yeah. Like, video coaches do way more than just challenge plays. But Aron,
you just have your red challenge button in your office.
Yeah,
you just hit your challenge button all day.
But Aron, you got into the hotel last night at 2 a.m. after a game against Tampa. Big win for your guys. You're on fire since coming back from the Olympic break, obviously pushing for a playoff spot here. Don't think there were any challenges on your end in your game last night, right?
No, nothing.
No,
nothing
it was free. It was free. But
nice
like
for us.
On these plays, and I'm not asking you to like give your opinion on another team's, game or whatever, but these are situation room calls, or are these the refs on the ice making the call? Do you know that? Is that part of your understanding with the gig?
Yeah, I mean, it's the ref on the ice making the call. The major penalty is because of the injury, from my understanding of it all. So it's not even necessarily like the violence of the contact comes into play, and obviously, I watched it, and Nurse definitely does push him, but my read on it is the upgrading to major penalty is just because Ingram gets hurt on the play. It's not for necessarily a reason.
Aron, Johnny brought up you getting in at 2:00 in the morning, and I'm sure things have moved along from a technological standpoint. Probably just in your 5 years that you've been doing it, or Johnny said it's been 5 years. So if that's not correct,
maybe more.
5 years in this position, 8 years total with the team.
Got it. Okay. So can you give a little bit of a breakdown of your day for a game. And when I say your day, I mean, wake up to bedtime. Like, how much work is involved for you really when the buzzer sounds and the third period of a game ends? Like, what does that look like for you? Because I don't think people realize how in the trenches you really are, and how, it's almost like when the equipment guys and the trainers go set up the locker room and do all this work till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And, some people go drink their beer, some people go to bed. I feel like for the video coach, the grinding and the lights in the hotel room are on until the wee hours of the evening.
Yeah. Yesterday's an interesting one just because it's the second of a back-to-back. So the day started a little bit later than it would have just because we were flying in from the night before. But like a typical game day is getting to the rink around 6, prepping for, any morning meetings that we may have with the coaching staff, which we typically will do around like 8 that morning. So just making sure that all of the meetings and stuff are ready for the other coaches, having all those clips, going through like last second things on the pre-scout that I've put together. The way we do it now is I build out the pre-scout, go through the other team's last 3 games usually, or if we've played them recently, go through that and then pass it along to Jared Bull, who preps the meeting that he presents for the team. So that's until about 8. And then typically we start, morning meetings around 9:45 on a home game day. So we'll have that team meeting, whether it's a special teams meeting or, if Bones wants to show something to the team, guys will go out and skate around 10:30. So while they're on the ice, I'm just in the back. If I've already got all my stuff done for that game, I'm already starting on watching any games that are for teams that we are coming up. So a typical game day, like I'm still watching at least 1, sometimes 2 other games from the night before, teams that were coming up. Typically starts to slow down a little bit between 12 and 2:30. That's kind of like a little bit of the downtime where I can kind of take a deep breath for the day. But then once it's like about 3 o'clock, I'm all showered, ready, suited up, ready to go for the game that night. We'll have another meeting with the coaches around 3:34, going through again, making sure all of our meetings are prepped and ready to go. Have meetings typically from 5 to 5:30 with the guys, just depending on how much we kind of want to show them. Game at 7. And then after the game, I'm immediately breaking down all the scoring chances from that game for us, for the other team, marking, players involved in each scoring chance. So that typically, takes another 2 hours or so post game. It's nice when we have a flight because you can just do it on the flight. It kills that flight. So flying down to Tampa the other night, about a 2-hour flight, I was able to get most of it done on that. And then, getting in, it's just making sure that I have everything for the next day. So prepping sheets, prepping lineup, different stats and whatnot, and then just going through the different reports that I put together from the analytics, as well as the analytics reports that I get from our analytics director. So kind of just like a mix. It varies a little bit. When
That's it?
There's back to back.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It's funny because like it seems like just like normal at this point, right? Like it's just routine. So like it sounds like way more, but in the moment, like it's like this is what we do. So it become pretty routine at this point.
Let me back you up into the pre-scout that you talked about that you build. Obviously, every coach has a different style. You've had 2 head coaches this season, but you've worked with a number throughout your career, and I'm sure they all look a little bit different. But I would love for you to go into it a little bit more with our audience here. We have an audience that is with us every morning that is probably like a much, let's say,
a better educated hockey fan.
They're just a more involved audience. Like they're not your surface level audience of hockey fan. Like I think they really appreciate the real granular, like behind the scenes conversations around the National Hockey League. Right. And so when you use the word pre-scout, I want you, if you don't mind, to just like give that a little bit more color, if you would, and explain to everyone what that looks like. Is it written charts? Is it video clips? Is it special teams breakout? Like what exactly does an NHL pre-scout look like on a daily basis? For for the opponent that you're playing, and I guess like how involved and who and what is involved in it.
Sure. So my main focus is typically on the 5-on-5 stuff. Our assistant video coach, Cam Briere, will get the special team stuff for our power play coach.
I had no idea you worked with Cam. I had no idea Cam was in Columbus, by the way. I had no idea of that.
Colby knows Danny very well.
Yeah.
Cam worked for me. Cam worked for me at one point in one of my retail stores like years ago. So I know Cam. He's a great kid.
He's been great. Yeah, he's been great. So he'll get the special teams clips for Mike Havlin and Scott Ford, who do our power play PK. They'll sort of build out their pre-scouts for their meetings. My focus is on 5-on-5. So basically what I do is I watch the entire game and I clip everything. Like I clip breakouts, I clip transitions, I clip entries, D-zone coverage, O-zone play, all of the face-offs, just basically anything that you would see 5-on-5. What I try to focus on is trying to find patterns and trends and seeing if teams have hard rules. Like some teams, for example, will, if it's a strong side D retrieval on a breakout, like they're always going to come out the weak side. Or if it's an inside D retrieval, they're always coming out the strong side. And some of those teams have hard rules like that. So it's trying to decipher between naturally playing hockey and what is available for that team to break the puck out, as well as are they going to force it a specific way no matter what is going on, right? So it's looking at that. It's looking at teams that play similar to like our systems and how they're playing against teams that play the same way that we do, whether they're making adjustments or not. So it's really just like going down to like the absolute nitty gritty of it all, to like, so that we're prepared. So when we show a meeting to the team, we can say every single time the inside D goes back and he's picking the puck up, like they're coming up the strong side. So we know for our forecheck that we can tailor it towards that. Or, they run this face-off play every single time, like for Florida tomorrow, just looking like every time that Tkachuk Bennett line is on the ice, like do they run an O-zone face-off play the exact same time, or exact same way every single time? So trying to like pick up on those little things. And then the other way that I also look at it is like I try to break the periods down as like, do they start the game a specific way? Do they change throughout the game? What kind of adjustments do they make based on how the game is going? And there's certain teams that like, for the first 5 minutes of every period, they're just going to be rimming pucks. Like they're just going to high flip pucks and they're just trying to get the puck up the ice no matter what is going on, because they just want to create races. So it's finding those little things so that we're prepared for it. So it's between video, and then I also put together like a sheet that has all of these notes. The sheet is more for the coaching staff so that they're aware of things. And then we can also have things that are not necessarily in the video. So we're not overloading video, but like they're de-sliding on 2-on-1s every single time, and how their goalie plays the puck. So Nick Backstrom does a good job pre-scouting the goalies, where to shoot on them and how they play the puck. And then we sort of tie that into the 5-on-5 and, where we need to dump the puck in. Is there a specific D that we should be attacking? Do we know that the low forward is going to be the first guy coming back if we come in on the weak side? Like things like that are where we're trying to find competitive advantages. Yeah. So that's my job. And then passing it along to Jeff Cole, who's presenting it.
It's
so many little details, right? Like it's awesome to hear all the little details.
It's such an important job that these teams are now building out, 2, maybe even 3. I mean, when I was in Chicago, I think there were 2 video coaches full-time and an intern that worked on the video packages. And I mean, I even think back to with Bruce Cassidy, Aaron, he was big on almost going player for player. And like you were talking about, go at this defenseman, like make sure if you have an opportunity 2-on-1, here's it. I mean, he was very specific with his pre-scouts, probably the most specific of any coach I ever had. And there was a lot of information, and I kind of wonder where he's at now, because I think this is probably an evolving process, Johnny, as we've both seen throughout our careers. But I think there was something in the chat, Johnny, that stuck out to you that you wanted to fire away.
Yeah, D. Lepresti, one of our most loyal chat contributors, Aaron, asked if you have do you have a automated video recognition software to map out and clip the scoring chances? Or like, are you manually clipping everything, or do you have a software you use that kind of is programmed to get the things that you're looking for?
No, I manually do it. There are ways, and there's different, like between Sport Logic and Insight, like there's different resources that we have that mark those things for us. But, every coach has a different definition of what a scoring chance is, and every coach has a different.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, what an A and a B is, even, right? And like I even have my own set of rules that like I kind of work with, and then have kind of tailored towards the coach. So I use those automated things as a reference point, but everything that like I'm going through on my own is all manually done, just because I need to know it for myself, so that when I present it to the team or the coaches, that I know what it is. I don't want to rely on, an automated system. But at the same time, like the rules are so different from like how Sport Logic grades C chances. Like for me and for like a C chance is just a shot. Like that's not a scoring chance, right? So like, there's different ways of like looking at it. So everything is manual on my end.
And for you, I think what a lot of people don't understand, and I actually didn't even know this too, the first time we had talked a couple weeks ago, during the games at home, you're watching the game in your office on multiple screens, and on the road, you're in the locker room watching the game on multiple screens, cutting up, I guess certain clips or looking for offsides or reviews and all that stuff. But you're running what the players are looking at on the iPad too. It's not just like a game feed that they're watching. Like that, there's so many little ins and outs of the game, which I actually didn't even really know, that I'd love to like kind of hear your perspective on. Like last night in Tampa, take us through what you're doing. Are you in the locker room, cutting stuff up during the game? You're not watching from above. Yes. I always thought the video guys were watching from above.
No. So like we have, in our coach's room, so sometimes it's in the locker room or whatever, but it's downstairs, and so we have our own coach's office. But basically, I'm clipping every single thing that is going on during the game. Like it's the same as a pre-scout, except I'm doing it for us, so that at the end of the game, like if in between periods, we just want to watch breakouts, like all of the breakouts are clipped. Or if we just want to watch our ozone entries, like those are all clipped, right? So everything's broken down that way. Cam does player shifts as well, so that the guys, when they go on the iPad, they can just go right to their number and they can just look right at their shifts. The special teams are broken down on there. And then it's the other thing that's nice with the Hawkeye, which is the challenge system, is I can mark things on there live, so that if they want to see something on the main screen, or if Bones or one of the other coaches wants to see something and one of the guys has the iPads, they can just look down at their feet and I can show them the same thing that they would be looking at on the iPad. So it's clipping it the exact same way I would clip a pre-scout. I'm just clipping it for us.
In real time. Yeah. I want to save the challenge stuff for a little bit later, and we're going to be selfish here with our time having you on, because I think everyone's loving having you here. We don't really get to talk to video coaches much, but I know you have a great story about how you actually got involved in the organization, because just to, give a little bit of a background, you went to MSU, Michigan State, but you didn't play or work in hockey in college. And I know, your introduction to the Columbus Blue Jackets was through Blake Jeffrey, right? Was that how the whole connection got made? And I'd love to hear the story, or everyone to hear the story about how you got hired.
Great man right there, Blake Jeffrey. That's a great name and a great man right there.
Yeah. So I got connected with Blake in college, and at the time there was an internship program with the Blue Jackets hockey operations department, and it was trying to help with the amateur scouts and management was sort of how it was presented to me. So, being, playing hockey growing up and being, hockey nut, I was like, I might as well take a shot. So when I'd reached out to Blake, just being like a person that he had never met, he had sent me a hockey IQ test just to see what my understanding of the game was. So he gave me this test, and I wish I still had it. I don't know where it is, but
memory of what any of the questions were on this hockey IQ test.
The 2-on-1, right? The 2-on-1.
Yeah. It was. It was like honestly, like, it was like breaking down situations. So it was like, here's a 2-on-1, you're the tracking forward, where do you go? Or you're the defenseman playing the 2-on-1, how do you communicate it back to the trackers? And it was basically like, it was asking game situation questions, and it would be like 3 or 4 different answers. And it wasn't necessarily there was rights or wrongs, but it was like, how do you understand the game? Right. So I guess I did pretty well on it at the end of the day, because I ended up getting hired and getting the job. But it was, I not being in hockey before, I didn't really know what I was going to do to get into it. But like, when I got that, I was like, oh my God, like, I actually have to show that I know what I'm talking about. And it was very, very funny. Like, when I tell people about this, because they're like, we've never even heard of that. And like, when I've talked to Blake about it since, he's like, I don't even necessarily remember doing that. But like, obviously, like, I did something, because I had to like give a word on you to the other people that were hiring for this position. So it was very funny, like, looking back on it, that like I had to take this test basically to prove my hockey knowledge.
Well, and that's hard because
everyone's different too.
Everybody can look at the same play. I could look at a 2-on-1, and depending on how we're playing, like, if my team is a puck tracking team and we're saying track the puck all the way to the bottom of the defensive zone faceoff dot, that could be different than, the Philadelphia Flyers are saying you track till just about the blue line. And if you're not ahead of the guy, then you peel off and you pick up, the late winger. Like, I mean, every system, every coach, like Claude Julien wanted us tracking the puck all the way to the goal line. And he would tell the defenseman to fold underneath, allow the shot from the outside, and protect the house. So it's so different. Even when we talk to Mike, obviously I work with George, his brother, and they're very close. And a lot of times Mike will give George stuff. Like, we use the high hinge. We love the high hinge, which is something we got from you guys. And there's so many things that you guys do that, Mike sort of whispers to George, and then we try to put in our own way. But it's always funny how even the terminology, like, Mike will tell George will reiterate it back to me. And my terminology school is a little more like in the Bruce I had 4 years with Bruce Cassidy. I was around sort of the Bruins terminology for many years. And even before that with BU, there's a little bit of connection. Just the words are different, right? Like, and so that would have been a really hard test to pass, in my opinion. Like, I think even a smart hockey person could have failed it. I'm going to send Blake a text message just so you know, and give him shit about that. And be like, what the hell, Blake? Like, are you?
I want a copy of it. I hope he could find a copy of it. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, this was in like 2017 or 2018. I've gone back and looked. I can't find it. I just remember being like, it was like right before college graduation, and being like, oh my God, like, I have to take this like hockey test. Like, I like never idea. But it's funny that you say like the terminology, because like you say high hinge, and like we like the just little thing, like we would call it an upward hinge, right? So like little it's the same play, it's the exact same thing, but like it's called like 2 different things, right? So like it's funny how it goes back, or like, tracking to like the strong side post, tracking to the back side post, or tracking to the bottom of the circle, right? So like little things like that, like at the end of the day, like they're all pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
But each coach is going to say how they've been saying it for their entire career. So it's funny you mentioned that.
Yeah. Well, and it's also like Blake. I mean, Blake could have been a GM in hockey. I mean, he would have been a general manager in the National Hockey League. I think he just realized that his value to the world was so much bigger. And that's no offense to general managers in the NHL. Like, I almost feel like Blake might have been too smart to stay in hockey. Like, that guy is so talented in so many different ways. And it's funny, like I played with him in the national team, Aaron, and like we didn't get along in at that time. And then as we got older, we connected on like a business opportunity when we were a little bit like outside of hockey. And I think we like, started to develop a different, relationship or whatever. And I mean, I haven't talked to him in, oh man, I bet it's been like a few years. I think I ran into him in a rink one time a couple of years back, but it's so funny, and like how connected the hockey world can be. Like, I forgot Blake took a run at hockey management and how quickly he kind of got in and up the ladder.
He was the assistant GM in Cleveland when I first came. So that was his role. I mean, I think he was doing player development stuff as well. But I remember him being assistant GM in Cleveland. But there's 2 degrees of separation in the hockey world between everybody, right? Like everyone says 5 degrees of separation in the world, but in the hockey world, like I know someone who right? Like everybody knows everybody, and then now working for Bones, like Bones knows everybody. So like there's not a place that like even last night, like it was funny, like after the game, like Vasilevsky and Hedman and all these guys, they were like, is Bones there? Is Bones there? Like everybody knows. So it also helps with the pre-scouts too, because he knows every single player. So he knows what all these guys' tendencies
for their whole careers. Yeah. Listen, I sat in the locker room next to Clarkey for a season. I mean, and he's the assistant general manager, you know what I mean? Yeah. And now I'll be doing a game. Last year we were in Providence. I'm looking at the line sheet and I'm like, Clark from Ohio? I'm like, this has to be Clarkey's kid. I know he's not in Providence anymore, but now all of a sudden these kids are of age and I'm calling their games. It's same thing with Adam Foote. I'm like doing a Foote kid game and I'm like, I'm not that old, am I? I mean, it is strikingly bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys like even like Joseph Boumediene was with us for forever. Like Sasha was a first round pick last year for Winnipeg. His younger son he's a stud. Wilson, he's going to be good. So it's funny, like all of these guys, like now their kids are coming up and everybody's still in the league. It's Braden's in London now, so there's so many little connections that just like run freely through the hockey world.
Aron, can we get like a little behind the scenes of maybe the coaches that you've worked with, their tendencies and their differences? Like, one thing that I was, kind of amazed with you, right? You think a new coach comes in, they kind of bring in their own staff, but you've been the video guy now for 5 years, in your position. I know you've been promoted over the 5 years, but, you're working with Torts, you're working with Dean Evison, you're working with Babcock briefly, and, now Bones, and maybe I'm missing one, but like, was there a certain way that these coaches went about things that was more fit for the way you work? What's something a little bit behind the scenes that you can give us maybe about each guy?
Yeah, the other two were Brad Larson and Pascal Vincent as well. Mm-hmm. Pascal's in Laval now. Everyone's different in the sense that like just how they, prepare the team. Torts, I wasn't on the coaching staff, but I was helping. I was still, working with the amateur scouts more, but on home game nights, I was down helping the video guy at the time with challenges and whatnot. So watching Torts was way more focused on, like our team as opposed to the opponent. Pascal is super, super detailed, like down to like the meetings and the circles and arrows in the meetings and showing guys, what everything should look like and placing players in specific positions. Dino was way more like, the staff is going to, be the voice where he's going to be like the head voice. But a lot of the talking is going to come from the assistants and for me. And Bones is, the special teams guys talk and Bowler does his pre-scouts, I chit chat with the guys and kind of answer any questions that they may have. But Bones, is running the team meetings and he's going through all of like breaking down our stuff and focusing on our team. So for me, like the one thing that's nice is like video is universal. It's just like how it's deployed is the differences. So, obviously this year switching in season, it was a little bit different, just like how we build out our meetings and how it's presented to the team. But at the end of the day, like all of the coaches want to know what the other team is doing. And then they want to know what we've done well and what we need to focus on. The one thing that Bones is a big details guy. He wants, no details to slip. It's very, down to like the point of like, we've done this well before. So when we don't do it properly now, it's like, it's not because we don't know how to do it. It's just, we didn't do it. So it's pointing those things out, and it's not even necessarily in a critical way. It's just to show the guys like, hey, you guys know what you're doing. Right. So Coaches are different in that sense, but having the opportunity to work for all those different coaches, obviously, you want. It doesn't necessarily mean that the team is having as much success as you would want them to have, but for me personally, like, getting to meet and learn from all of these different guys, and you mentioned Babs, like even Babs, just for like those 2 months, like he was all about details, and like I learned to see things differently than I ever had, and watch the game a little bit differently. So then that helps with the next coach, because you're more comfortable with what you're seeing and what you're speaking on. So now that I've been through all of these guys and how they all kind of do it, you kind of try to find a way to marry everything together that you've learned in the past, and then tailor it towards how it needs to be presented for the team now. So working with Dino and being able to like present to the team, showed me that I'm able to do it, and I gave me confidence that when now if a player comes up to me and it's like, hey, can you just explain to me how we're covering that face-off again? Like, I know that I have that answer, and I'm confident that I'm going to give the exact same answer that Habby's going to give, or Fordo or Bowler, any coach is going to give. So it's just everybody being on the same page at the end of the day, so that if someone asks a question, everybody has the same answer no matter what it is.
How do you filter though from, I want to ask you about JVR because he comes on our show every other week. And I know, and listen, I for years have laughed with him because in one of our group chats, he's always like, I just can't understand this coach doesn't value these types of scoring chances. And he always gets rattled about like what coach values, like you were saying, the difference between a grade A, grade B, or whatever. Like he has been fighting that fight since like we had Ron Ralston like manually doing clips on the XOS system back when we were
Exos,
our 16 years old. But so I want to get to the Reamer thing, but I just want to pause it for 1 second and sort of follow up on what you're talking about here. Like, it's a lot of information available, right? And I think the stats community is probably crying a little bit when they hear you say that, like, every coach looks at, a scoring chance differently, because that reigns all over the narrative of like expected goals, right? Because like, who's to say the computer says it's an expected goal, this coach says it's a grade A, this coach says it's a grade B, but how do you sift through all the information and decide what's too much information? Because I feel like a new trend in the game, and I know every coach is different, but the more coaches that I've been talking to recently are more focused on what we need to do and less of what they do. There seems to be no secrets left. Guys on their cell phones have all the video clips. They've got their iPads with their shifts. Guys are more committed to watching video than ever on the bench at times. So you're doing, let's call it, 1,000 words a minute in knowledge and clips and information. How do you dwindle it to a digestible amount of information for either a player or a coach to then deploy and use for the team?
Yeah, for me personally, it's more focusing on, I always start with the video, right? Obviously it's my job, but I always find that like the eye test is going to show you the broad spectrum of it. And then finding like the stats that back it up is kind of where I go towards with the analytics. Like if I see that teams are really good at breakouts and then I go and look at their stats and they're really good at breakouts, like obviously it's okay. Then we were right on that. But it's trying to find things that you may not pick up in the video when I look at the stats, or things that may contradict what I'm seeing. Like, when we played Utah the other day, their analytics in their last 10 games were that they hadn't been generating a ton of scoring chances off the rush. Now, we had just played Utah like a month or a month and a half before, and basically our entire pre-scout for that game was we have to defend the rush. You can't turn the puck over in the neutral zone because they're just going to feed off of it. So that was one of those ones where it's like, okay, maybe in the last 10 games they haven't been that good in this stat, but we know from watching them and we know from their personnel that like they can generate off the rush as good as anybody in the league. So it's trying to like toe the line of what do the stats say based on what we saw with the video, as well as, what did we miss? But I always tend to find that the video is going to show what the stats are going to show. So the stats are great to have, and our analytics guys do a great job like providing that stuff for us. But I don't necessarily need to like base my pre-scout or how our team is playing for that matter based on what the stats are, because I can watch a game and say, we didn't cover our slot well in our D zone tonight and we gave up, 7 or 8 chances. Like if I go on and they've got, 10, 12 slot shots tonight, it's like, yeah, I already saw that in the video, right? So like I try to use it more to back up what I've already seen, or to, go back and be like, okay, maybe I missed that. Or maybe the team that we're watching or our team we're just having like a weird stretch where the numbers don't necessarily back up what we're doing. Like since Bones came in, like we had completely, done such a better job of protecting our slot and eliminating rush scoring chances. But then we played Utah and I think we gave up like 12 rush scoring chances against Utah. So it's like,
that's going to happen sometimes though. Yeah. It's just going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an outlier, right? So like, that's a game where like, okay, if I go through our 3-game segments or 5-game segments to like put together analytics on our team, like that's a game I'm probably not going to use because it's such an outlier for what we are actually good at and what, we give up on a night to night basis.
Aron, I want to get into challenges a little bit. I know some fans hate them, some fans appreciate them, but one thing that I found super interesting, and I was lucky to kind of witness it firsthand with you at MSG when you challenged the goalie interference on Lafreniere with Merzlikins. You told me you had seen that call been made against the Rangers like 2 games prior. So you're watching other games to see what's been called, what's not been called, to essentially help you decide what you tell Bones to challenge. But I kind of want to ask you, I guess, how you approach it, but also if there's one challenge you've gotten this year that you're like most proud of, that you were like, fuck yeah, like I knew we were, you know what I mean? Like one of those
that took a
fires
goal
you
from
up.
your hero at MSG. That had to be
that could have been number 20. He didn't even score it. He was just in the crease. It was JT Miller's goal, I think. But
he was Aaron. Johnny had the voodoo doll out. He was so pissed at you for that, man.
Yeah.
I texted him. I was like, "Great challenge. This is coming back." Like I texted Aaron on the record. It's there.
I mean, just like to answer the most proud, like the one that has had the most effect for us, I guess, this year was just the other night when we played Florida. Like we were up, they tied the game.
It's the Greer one.
3 or 4. So, no, it was Boquist.
Yeah.
It was Boquist. Yeah, Boquist coming.
I think we
in.
have the video.
Yeah, so
I think we have the video.
Scored, but yeah. So it was Boquist. So that one, just like the time of the game, like we had been playing so well, and then they just pushed, late in the game. So yeah, there's about 3 minutes left in the game. We get that goal called back, and then we end up winning the game. It's such a big game for us. So for that one, like specifically, like I'm looking at like he's going into the crease on his own. Sure, Provorov's pushing him a little bit, and he's kind of standing his ground, but I'm always going to defend our goaltender, especially with our 2 goalies. Like they do such a good job of staying in the crease that like if there's contact with them, like they are in the crease, right? So like that for me, it's the first point of contact. Do we help or not? I always err on the side of like the player is going into the crease on his own unless we're throwing the guy into the crease. Like he's making the decision to go into the crease, whether there's contact from our defender or not. I know that like that one specifically, I'm sure people in Florida were freaking out because Provorov was pushing him and whatnot. But for me, like I see him going into the crease. I see him not really trying to get out of the crease. And then I see our goalie being spun into the corner. And in that time of the game, in a game where like, we have to win, that's one for me, like that's 100% challenge all day long. But my process with it is typally like,
kind of like blackjack, knowing when to hit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I look at most close entries live. Just we'll go back and look at it. But typically the process is a goal goes in, I go back to the blue line, I double check the offside or not. I go to the goalie, see if there's any contact there. And then I'd mentioned before, but like being able to bookmark clips on our system with the Hawkeye, like if there's any close, like hand passes, high sticks, puck hitting high in the glass, whether it's going out of play or not, like I have all those moments bookmarked. So I typically go line crease and then going back and checking if there's any high sticker thing. And then it's honestly, it's nicer at home when you have the last change. You get, an extra 10, 15 seconds because you can kind of slow change it. So if I need an extra couple seconds, I always will radio out to the bench and be like, hey, just buy me some time here with this line change because I got to. Or if it's like a minute and a half in the zone, like I got to go back and like basically watch it on 3 times speed to like make sure that nothing's there. But I typically go line and then crease unless like it was something that's egregious, because the offside is always going to be the most black and white one. So I typically, if there's 2 things going on, I'm always going to err to the offside challenge and then kind of going back. And, we had a hand pass this year that for my money, I'll die on the hill that it was a hand pass. The league thought it was a deflection, which I can see what they're saying. Like, I get it, but like, things like that where it's like, you try to go towards the ones that are black and white and stay away from the grays. But it's line, crease, and then checking the end zone from there.
How that has to just be such a lonely feeling. At least you have Cam there with you. But and by the way, I am trying to get the IQ test from Blake, and he says no dice. It's proprietary, and he still uses it in all of his businesses today. So we're not getting our hands. We're not getting our hands on the IQ test, and also Blake sends his best to you. But that has to be such a lonely feeling, sitting in there in that coach's room, calling in a challenge to the bench, and waiting for the officials to review it and to come back out. I can't imagine, and like the communication to the bench when you do want to challenge, Aaron, like. What is that communication like? Are you saying challenge this 100%? Are you telling them, hey, I'm 50-50 on this? Like, how do you manage that radioing or communicating into the bench?
Yeah, so on the mic, typically it's me. Scott Ford wears the earpiece on the bench. The first 2 periods, Jared Bull wears it upstairs, and then Nick Backstrom, our goalie coach, wears it in the 3rd period. But they sit together for the first 2 periods as well, so they're kind of involved in it. But for the most part, like obviously the black and white ones, it's 100% or it's no challenge. The goal interference ones, I try to give them as close to 100% as I can, just because I want them to make the decision based on the situation of the game. Like there was one, I don't know if it was Tavares's 500th or 600th, whatever it was, goal that he scored this year. There was one, and it was no, we didn't. But it was like because it was at the line, and like I didn't have the angle to like 100% say that it was offside. It was close. But like sometimes you get those back angles that like they give you later, and I didn't have that angle yet. And it was like a 4 or 5-2 game at this point, like in the 3rd period. So it was like, all right, like, if this is a one where, we're losing in a game or it's early in the game, maybe we give it a shot, but, don't want to put them on the power play late in the game and give them any extra momentum. So like, that's one you kind of stay away from. I try to be as, 100% as I can, just because I want them to make the decision on the bench with the situation. Bones has been great about it. Like, he's just going with whatever I say. So I think we've had 3 goalie interference challenges now since he's been here. And, but just, I do a lot of research. 2 for 3. One of them was our guy getting pushed in to our goalie. So it was in the 2nd period again at the Islanders, and it was to tie the game, and they kind of had picked up momentum. So it was one of those ones where it was like, I think this is goal interference. I still think it's goal interference, but like, it's also like we're trying to, kill their momentum and keep the lead in a big game. Right. So I'm in a good position now where Bones has been awesome with trusting what I've been giving out to him and what I say. So I try to be 100% now, but there are situations where it's like, yes, he's making contact whenever. And it's funny in that Utah game, like we had one where we scored and like Cole Sillinger's stick was like kind of in the crease and like kind of making contact, but it was like pretty bang bang with like the puck passing the goalie in the contact. And their video guy texted me after the game and was like, "What'd you think about that one?" And I was like, honestly, like, I don't know if I would have done that one just because like it's so bang bang with like when the puck is passing the goalie. Yeah, so it's funny, and then I do so much research, like watching all of the challenges that go on throughout the league every single night. And
that was a question we had in our chat. Actually, I'm happy you mentioned that. If you watch every challenge every night, like that's
every single one. Yeah, every single one. And I'll watch them with, especially the goalie ones with Nick Backstrom, just to like get the goalie's perspective on it. And obviously, goalies tend to side with their goalies too. So trying to like find that middle ground of like, okay, does the goalie actually have a chance to play his position or not? Or, is the contact, if the puck is being deflected, right on the top of the crease and it's going in on the opposite side, and did the contact really affect his ability to make the save, or is the puck going to go in whether he's being contacted or not? So like we had one of those the other night too, where we didn't challenge it because it's like this puck is going 3 feet wide, but it hits someone's skate. So like our goalie was never going to get over there to make that save, regardless. So that's where you kind of try to figure it out and based on what you've seen in the past. But I try to be as close to 100% as possible.
You know what I love about this interview, Aron? I feel like our chat, and literally like I've never seen, I think, more positive messages from a guest that we've had. Like, I don't think I've seen one negative comment, but I feel like our listeners are going to watch. Yeah, I think our listeners are going to watch Blue Jackets games and now like think of you if there's like what I mean? Like they're going to put themselves in your brain after hearing you speak for a challenge. But I just have one more because we are getting close here on time for today's show. And this is something that like I don't know if you necessarily do this, but I'm just curious, and maybe you can give us like a little, behind the scenes kind of answer here. Are you working with players individually at all, like with video? Do you have a guy on Columbus that you maybe have the best work relationship with, someone who really utilizes video more than others? I don't know if you can really even like answer that, but I figured I'd ask it.
Yeah, I don't necessarily work with them one-on-one, but we have different coaches work with specific lines or specific players, kind of going through their shifts with them and whatnot. And the nice thing with all of these guys is, like you guys had mentioned, like they love watching video, and they all get their shifts right after the game, so they all are watching their stuff. There's a few guys on the team that will come to me and kind of just like, what did I see and what do I think about, how they've been playing. And I'll go to them and kind of, just pump tires and be like, hey, like, let's get back to, where you were, you've been playing great, exactly what's kind of been going on and what we've been asking of you. So work with it in that way. But as far as like different teams kind of do it differently. I know there's some teams that have like skills guys that kind of go through every single puck touch that like a guy has and what they do with puck touches. So we don't do that, but we do like, individualized video with guys more now than in the past, where it's just like, going through shifts and working on things that they can sort of control within like the principle.
Yeah,
I'm just laughing out loud at Rangers Wire in our chat. What's your Twitter handle so we can give you shit when you miss a call? You're gonna have all of our listeners like, shit challenge, Aron. Like, way to go. Like,
yeah. I'm sure they weren't happy about that, the one against the Rangers the other day. But like, I mean, you mentioned, I literally had seen the exact same play happen against the Penguins, and it was like,
it was such a soft call, but I was like, oh my God, that's just how
I was like, I'm challenging this because it was the same team in the same building. And I was like, I have to go off of what the precedent has been set. And the league has been great this year, honestly, with goal interference, about like the precedent that they've set with it all.
Aron,
what is your record this year? Little Willie.
I was just going to say, well, hold on. Before we let you go, because we are going to let you go here in a second, do you know your record as a video coach with your challenges? Like, do you have that tracked? Or is that not something you try not to think about?
Yeah, it's available. There was a stretch for a while where like, I think like last season, I think like it was like they won like 12 in a row or something crazy. At one point,
you should have like a bonus, like a player
challenge bonus,
20 challenge.
I see it though. I look at it like I'd rather never have a challenge because it means that we aren't giving up any goals, right? So like for me, like I'm like I hope I never have to have a challenge because then we're not getting scored on. But I think this year's like 4-2 or 4-3, and there was a goalie interference in the second game of the year, and we challenged it because of what we had got one taken back, and that was like I think that was Cam's come to the NHL moment because he saw me lose my mind after we lost that challenge, and I think that was where he was like, oh my god, like this is deep. But we won the last 2 goal interference ones. We had lost a hand pass one, maybe 2 offsides we've gone this year, but I think we've only had like 6 or 7 this year, which is sort of a down year.
I'm texting Clarky. I'm going to text Clarky and I'm going to tell him bonuses tied to Aaron's next deal. All right.
Yeah.
We want $1 million bonus per every 10 challenges is another $1 million on the salary. Aaron.
Yeah, that's coming from you. It's not coming from me. It's great.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell him this was my idea, not yours. This was really, really informational. I think people probably ate today up as much as they ever do with our show. It was a day off from Jonny and I yelling at each other, so I'm sure they also appreciate that. When I say that, I mean me pretty much just yelling at Jonny. But good luck the rest of the way, man. You guys are 14-2-1 or something since Bones took over. There's a lot of reasons for me personally, with Javi and Clarky, and Bones has been on our show a couple of times. Like we talk about how underrated the fan base is, and obviously Johnny Gaudreau was a friend, and I know to a lot of people. So we see you got the T-shirt on, and we root for the Columbus Blue Jackets on this show, and we'd love to see you guys push somebody out of the playoff race and find your way in, and we'll definitely keep in touch and have you on again. So thanks for coming on today, pal.
Yeah,
appreciate it, Aaron. Seriously.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. Go get a nap in. Guy got into the hotel at 2 a.m. last night.
We probably want to put Aaron on the list for a summer episode where we can just go. You know what I mean? Like we could have gone with him for another 30 minutes, if we have the opportunity. So there were just like still 4 or 5 different things I wanted to get in with him that I had written down in my notes, Jonny, that we don't even have an opportunity to get into. So Jonny, we're not going to talk about the games last night. Vic's got a really cool interview he's got to film for Leafs Morning Take here, so we're gonna cut the show off here in a couple of minutes. I have a ton of notes from the games last night. I wrote about Matheson. I wanted to talk about Lane Hudson. I wanted to give flowers to Barzal and kind of have that discussion. Lane Hudson just set an NHL record for points for a defenseman. I'm feeling better about that Hall of Fame comment I made last year, even better now than I did last year. Macklin Celebrini just joined Crosby and Grant. I mean, there's a shitload of things that I wrote down. I had notes from the Dallas game. I wanted to talk about Schaefer and something I noticed about the Islanders last night, because I bounced around last night, Jonny, which I know I don't normally do, but
13 games. I mean,
yeah, I literally was watching like 10-minute intervals of games. I think I got my eyes on like 6 games or 7 games last night. But whatever, we ran out of time. We talk about hockey every day. That was I know you were the one who got Aaron to come on today. So great job bringing him on. That was something that I think everybody will love.
Yeah.
I'm going to kick it to you. Give us your Bet365, and then I'm going to finish the show. Because there's one little thing I just want to call out that I haven't talked about this week that I just want to end the show with here, and we'll go from there. All right, Jonny?
I also do want to plug our friends at Game Notes. Merles, G, and Army are having Ethan Witten back on at noon. The country's leading scorer in the NCAA Flames prospect. You should have saw him last night, Colby. He was walking around MSG in the press box with all of the Calgary Flames brass. He had the camera crew following him. It was a red carpet treatment for Ethan Wittenbach, who we both know. I don't know if you've ever met him, but I've known him since he's a little kid.
He'll definitely come on our show. He should be the front runner for the Hobie. I hope, I hope so. So go ahead, Jonny, give us your bet, and then I'm going to finish the show with something a little different, and then we'll say goodbye to everyone.
Tonight's Bet365, bet of the night, whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. You must be 19 or older. We're going with the Ottawa Senators on the money line. They're home against the Montreal Canadiens. Ottawa, a sneaky 4-0-2 since returning from the Olympic break. Actually, you can probably get them in regulation. You'll get better odds taking the Senators in regulation. Buffalo again, like just taking Buffalo in regulation every night seems to be the winner. We hit last night again for the Sabres, beating the Sharks 6-3. But Ottawa, man, like this is a playoff game tonight. Montreal's hanging on to their spot in the Eastern Conference. Ottawa's trying to get in. Divisional matchup, rivalry. Should be great energy tonight in Ottawa. Only 2 games on, so this is the one to watch by far.
Yeah. Okay, Johnny. The last thing I want to just say here, Troy Murray, a guy that the hockey world lost this week. And I got a chance to work with Troy for a couple of years in Chicago. I got a chance to meet Troy. I got a chance to see just how important he was to the Chicago Blackhawks fan base, to his partner, John Weideman, just to all of Blackhawks Nation. And, there's a reason Troy was a captain in the National Hockey League. He was such a good human being. I was there while he was battling cancer and while he was going through some ups and downs with it, and while he fought it and he fought it and he fought it. And, he did fight it as hard as he could. I witnessed it. Like I said, we worked together on television one season and with him in the booth and it's really sad. And I'm sure Blackhawks fans are feeling it. I'm sure, I talked to Eddie Olczyk. I know Eddie's really feeling it. This is something that hits near and dear to Eddie's heart. And Eddie is a guy who is not afraid to open up his heart. And so, I just wanted to at least mention it on our show here, Johnny, and just, again, he was such a good man. Like, we really did lose a guy who, was a legend, and not just a legend on the ice, just a legendary human being, a guy who the world needs more people like Troy Murray. And it's sad. It's heartbreaking. And like I said, I wanted to just tell the Blackhawks fans, Blackhawks Nation, staff members, teammates. I mean, there was a lot of Troy played in the NHL for a while, and he had a lot of teammates that all had good experiences with him. He is one of those guys that no one would ever have a bad word to say about. And those are hard people to find. There's normally somebody out there that can find something about you. Troy, he was an exception to the rule. And so, to Troy's family, to Troy's closest friends, and everyone else, we are certainly thinking about you and wishing you well, and, sending our love and our thoughts and our prayers. And we're going to end the show with that today. We love you all for being here. We appreciate your time, and we will see everybody tomorrow at 9 a.m. as we always do.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Morning Cuppa Hockey here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, we've got more great hockey content every day. You can catch DFO live at noon and stick around for the Sheet with Jeff Marek at 1 p.m. right here on Daily Faceoff. Until then, keep your coffee hot and your takes hotter.